Hey guys, Andrew Hellmich here from PhotoBizX, and big welcome to Brianna Shrader. If you weren't here on the first session that Brianna did share with us, the first class on AI, you definitely missed out. And we're going to be sort of carrying on from there. But you don't have to have done the first session to continue on with today's. But we are going to make the assumption that you do have your client avatar in writing, so that you can use it in AI in Gemini today. So follow along. If you've got questions as we go, use the chat window. And I will endeavor to get those to Brianna as we go. If it doesn't fit at the time, then what I'll do is I'll put them, or have you put them to her at the end of the actual presentation. But what I will encourage you to do is have Gemini open on your browser now, and you're going to be copying and pasting from the chat window. Now, if you aren't familiar with Brianna, she runs a photography studio in the States, Shy Heart Studio. She photographs, her and a team, over 100 weddings a year. They also do family and branding photography. Brianna is heavily entrenched with AI. She goes to other seminars, does other training, other mastermind groups. She is all in on this AI stuff and is using it every single day. And as you heard, she created today's slide deck using AI. And yeah, she does so much with it every day. So she's going to be great to lead us through this. I'm going to hand it over to Brianna. Follow along, take notes, use the chat window and post your questions as we go. And let's dive into this. So Brianna, over to you.
All right. I am going to share my screen. Okay. So by popular demand from the Facebook group, we decided today we're going to cover lead magnets, copywriting, and newsletters, all with Gemini. At the end, I'd love to chat about some other apps and things like that. If you guys are interested in other tools, how I made this slide deck, all kinds of stuff. I have a lot more up my sleeve than Gemini, but this is what I use the most out of any AI tool. So we're going to dive into all of these things. We're going to build on the foundations from part one. You guys all mentioned that you have your avatars ready to go. So I'm going to run through a couple slides, and then we're just going to dig right into Gemini together and go for it. So in the first segment, we discovered our ideal client avatar. We did a lot, but the main things that we did were the ideal client avatar, understanding your target audience, and then, of course, social media strategy around that. It seems like most of you have continued to utilize this. I think you said it was Eric, right? That redid his whole website copy. That's amazing. I actually have redone mine as well. And on a quick note on that, I know we touched on this a little bit last time, but you do have to, I think I was a little bit unsure, and some of the feedback was different at the time because Gemini was brand new on the market. But Google does know if you direct copy from an LLM onto your website, and it will hurt your SEO. So you do have to make sure that you are rewording things before putting it on your actual website. So I just wanted to cover that really fast because I know that was a big question last time. So the power of lead magnets, copywriting, and newsletters, they all really go hand in hand because the messaging should be cohesive across all of these platforms. So our lead magnets, as we know, are irresistible offers that are ideally put out there to capture email addresses to get them to your newsletter. Copywriting can be for your sales, it can be for your website, but the messaging really has to be cohesive. And that's why we did the first series, or the first part of this, all on figuring out who we're talking to. Today, we're going to go even further and understand types of language they like and keywords and phrases that are best to use for our ideal client avatar. And then we're going to use that to create lead magnets, and do some copywriting and newsletters so that all that language, all of the messaging is cohesive across all of our text everywhere. There we go. Okay, we're going to use Gemini. Andrew already told us that. Obviously, it's like a personal assistant. It does content creation. It has data-driven insights, especially if you're on the advanced platform. It really does utilize Google to pull all the stats and things like that. It's time-saving, as we know, but it's also money-saving. Fun fact, when I went to do the sales page copy for this course, I put it to my marketing team that I work with, and I asked them if they could write me a sales page, and they wanted to charge me $500 to do a sales page. And I was like, okay. So I copied the last sales page, dropped it into Gemini, asked it to replicate it with new content, and it wrote the entire sales page for this course. And I spent $0. So that's pretty cool.
Um,
I was like, I'll do it myself.
Brianna, just before you go on here, you mentioned
Yeah.
there's Gemini and then there's the paid or advanced version. What's the
Yes.
difference and what's the pricing? What's the price difference?
It's $19.95 a month, I believe. So about $20, same as ChatGPT. And you can do pretty much everything we're working on today with the basic version. The paid version does things a little bit more complex, not a little bit more complex. It's a lot more complex. It integrates more data and it provides more thorough responses. I have been using the paid version since I got into it. So I have not tested them against each other because I was just all in. So personally, I haven't seen a major difference. I know one thing it does also do text to image generation, which is kind of a neat thing. Again, we're photographers. We probably don't need that so much. So that would not be a kicker for me. But the next level of the data and the responsiveness, it's faster, it's more in depth. Supposedly it's all around obviously better. But it doesn't mean you have to invest in the paid version.
Got it. Okay. So we can use
Yeah.
we can use the free version, do exactly what you're
Yes.
teaching today. And then,
Yes.
so whatever you create inside AI or Gemini, are you then rewording it yourself or are you, does it depend where it's going to go, whether or not you reword
It
it?
depends where it's going to go. So if it's going to go on my website, yes, 100%, because I know it's going to hurt the SEO. It is rare that I do a direct copy and paste. I reword a lot of it because I want it to sound more like my voice. And although Gemini is much better at sounding human than like ChatGPT historically has been, um, I still like to put my own spin on it most of the time. If I'm in a hurry, I will direct copy and paste for a social media post or, and then we'll get into some of that for the newsletter writing too, because I do sometimes change up my newsletters and sometimes I don't. It just kind of depends on what it puts out. But certainly if I'm going to use it on something that Google is crawling, like a blog or a website, I definitely reword it.
Got it.
All right. So I'm going to skip this slide because we're just going to do it because this is just lead magnet talk. So, okay. We have our prompts, yes, or not our prompts, our
Avatar?
our avatars. Yes, our avatars. So this is the way this is going to work today is this is a little bit more of a step by step than last time. So you have your avatar in there. For me, for this one, I have both of those first two prompts we did last time that tells me all about her. And then the deeper questions that we asked about the worries that keep her up at night, the problems, what she avoids because it triggers too much anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. So I have both of those prompts already pasted just to make sure that this is going as deep as it possibly can on this avatar. So because I already have the pain points in there, I'm going to skip number 1. But number 2, I'm looking to create irresistible lead magnets around, and we're going to paste this in. I'm going to paste it into the chat real quick so you guys can do this along with me. Oh, I think I lost my... I'm not sure how to pull up the chat, Andrew, because I'm sharing my
Sure.
screen. Where is the chat? Oh, here we go. I got it. Yep.
Great.
Yep. Okay.
So everyone on the call, you can copy this from the chat and then paste it. Is that right? You want them to paste it into Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you're watching the recording, all this will be available on the actual course page.
So it's the first time it didn't give me a Sarah, by the way. Okay, looking to create irresistible lead magnets around Emily Davis's pain points. What are the most common mistakes other photographers make when creating a lead magnet for potential clients? So just a quick note on the way that you prompt Gemini, the more in depth you can go with your prompts, the better response you're going to get. So this is relatively basic. We could take this further by saying, like, by picking some of her specific pain points and typing it in here so that it's really going after specific pain points that maybe triggered you. Maybe you read it and were like, ooh, those are my favorite ones to talk about. So I encourage you, of course, to make these prompts your own and take them a step further by doing that. But just for the sake of keeping it as simple as possible, we're just going to go for it and understand what the common mistakes other photographers are making when they make lead magnets.
Sorry, Brianna. So while we're waiting for Gemini to give you a result here, will you put in there other wedding photographers, other portrait photographers? Again, are you going to be expanding that question as much as possible?
You could, but this already knows I'm talking to somebody who's interested in family portrait photography based on the prompt that I put in.
Right.
So
Okay.
Emily, she is, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that before. I just did this based around family portrait business. So I don't think that's necessary, but you certainly could.
Okay. And is it okay? Like, do you want to make the prompt as detailed and as long as you possibly can, or is it
Yeah.
okay to go in short and sharp like you have?
You can do it either way. The more in depth you go, the more in depth Gemini is going to go. But sometimes you really don't need to go that deep. So you'll see with the next prompt, it's going to be a really simple question about the language that resonates with her the most. And it's just going to give us information, not things that we're going to copy and paste. We're just learning more about her right now and how we need to talk to her in our lead magnets, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can see these are the common mistakes that other photographers are making. Generic content, too salesy. They're ignoring the emotional appeal. That's really important. They're not providing actionable steps, ignoring the dream solution. They're not providing value with their lead magnets, or they have poor presentation. So I think the emotional appeal for me is that one sticks out the most, especially with family portraiture. Well, actually, any kind of photography really there's a huge emotional appeal, right? So from there, we're going to do this one.
So,
okay.
Brianna, Robert is saying that his response isn't as detailed. Now, is that because you're using Gemini Plus?
That's possible. Robert, are you on the basic?
Can you let us know in the chat, Robert, if you're using Gemini Basic? Yes.
Okay. So it could be that. Do you have both part 1 and part 2 of the ideal client avatar prompt in there?
So what you're
could
doing,
also be that I have all these questions in here as well. I have that second prompt.
Okay, so Brianna, sorry. So just to be clear, have you got the answers to the client avatar or the client avatar prompts already above what you're typing in now?
Yes. So I started a brand new chat and I started it with that part 1 of the avatar prompt. And part 2 was the one that went deeper into these questions, asking Gemini to answer from first person. Do you guys remember that part? You remember that part of the prompt, Andrew?
Yes,
so I have
absolutely.
both part 1 and part 2.
Okay, so you're expanding on that same conversation, that same thread.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I
I
copied what you
expect
pasted and
that's
used that. Okay. Okay. So I'm not sure if he's got both prompts in there, if he's in the same chat, but did not include the larger part. Okay. Okay. So it could be either of those things. It could be the free version. I would encourage you to try it again after this course and put both prompts in and then ask it. So, but put prompt 1 in, prompt 2 in. So you have the full description, not just who it is, but all the pain points and all those questions. Because that's really thorough and takes it a little bit deeper. So that might help. Okay, and then we're going to do this one next. So what content format would resonate best with my ideal client avatar for this lead magnet? Really simple question. We just want to know.
So you posted that in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, so you can copy that, guys, from the chat or from the course page.
Cool. Eric just said he used both 1 and 2 on the prompts, and he got a really detailed response with Basic Gemini. That's great.
Same with Mike. That's great to hear.
Awesome. Okay, good. So I'm glad that it's not a free versus paid. Okay. So given Emily's profile, the most resonant lead magnet format that would be visually appealing and would be a visually appealing and informative guide. So PDF or a short video series, interactive quiz or assessment, webinar or workshop. I'm not really sure how webinar or workshop would work for a client? We can ask it if we wanted to. I always go back to some sort of beautifully designed PDF because I feel like, or video, those are the top two that I think, at least my ideal clients tend to resonate with the most. Video performs very well across all platforms, as we all know. But everybody loves a really easily downloaded PDF. So we could pick one of those based on what we want to do as the photographer, right? And then just save that in the back of your mind as we go through the next couple of prompts. So before we pick, now it already gave us some ideas how to choose the right photographer for your family's vision, preparing for the perfect photo shoot. We're going to get even more, but if any of those resonated with you that came up, I would say hang on to that. Again, make a note, because now we're going to get into language and words and things like that that this client wants to hear. Then we're going to make the lead magnet because we want to know how to talk to them specifically first.
Okay, so just to be clear here, Brianna, so we're looking to create a lead magnet for our website, or that we send out on social media to have people join our email list, and we're trying to appeal to our perfect ideal client with that lead magnet.
Yes.
Got it.
But before we create the lead magnet, we're learning the language to use and how to talk to them and what kind of content is going to resonate best for that client from the lead magnet perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we're looking to create
detailed.
We're looking to create the content that will have them clicking on our lead magnet and downloading it. Got it.
Exactly. And then we're going to make the actual lead magnet. We just want to know. Okay. So, again, really simple questions for this one. Just basically ask what kind of language is going to resonate with her or him. It gives you words. So emotional connection, cherish, celebrate, embrace, togetherness, unforgettable, legacy, growth and milestones, personalized experience, high quality heirlooms, reassurance and expertise. Stress-free experience is one that is constantly coming up. That's what everybody wants, right? Stress-free experience. So I have learned that all of my avatars want a stress-free experience. So anytime I create something going forward, I'm going to talk about how it's stress-free, because that's a really powerful trigger, especially for parents that are looking to do a family session, because one of the biggest reasons they don't do it, it's stressful, right? So the next one, 10 are common power words and phrases that will motivate her to take action.
Is this how you would actually do this yourself? You would do step by step first, get all the details, and then go on to create the content.
The other thing I would do is literally just save this conversation and create the lead magnet. And then if I want to do a new lead magnet, I would go back to the same conversation. Like, you can save hundreds of these, and I would name it something so that it stuck out to me. Like, I wanted to make sure I remembered that this one was for PhotoBizX too. And go back to it. And what I would call it is lead magnets, so that I don't have to go back and do all this every single time. I would save it because this now already knows the words and the key phrases that she wants to hear. So I don't have to start all over again.
Right.
So again, very similar to before, although it was just giving us simple words. This one's giving us more phrases. Cherish these fleeting moments with timeless family portraits. Experience the joy of seeing your family through a new lens. Some of it's a little corny, reword it, right? But still using the same words here: legacy, unforgettable, love and laughter, growth and milestones, and beautiful detail. And it gives you, just without me even asking it to give categories, it's giving me different categories to hit on those points that she is interested in. And then, of course, call to action phrases. Okay, so I'm going to skip this one because these are just headlines. But the next thing I would do is this one, which is going to now ask us, or ask it to give us lead magnet ideas.
Why would you skip the headlines? Because we're not creating the content yet?
Yeah, because I don't even know what I want my freebie to be yet. And so I would probably go back to that one if I don't love the headline that it gives me.
Right. Okay.
So
Because you
that
don't
one's
know
kind of,
yet.
if you have something in mind, I would use it right away.
Okay. Because you haven't decided whether you're going to do a video series or a PDF, for example.
Correct. Oops, I forgot to paste this one. So considering my ideal client avatar, Emily Davis, the language that resonates best with her, the common power words or phrases that will motivate her, please give me 10 ideas for lead magnets that will be irresistible to her. Ooh, the Busy Mom's checklist for a stress-free family photo shoot.
That's
I need
pretty
to make
cool.
that. That's a
That's
good one. Quiz, webinar. This is interesting because I was like, what kind of webinar would you do? Transform your home into a gallery of love, how to display family portraits. That's kind of
pretty good.
cute. Yeah. Challenge, 7 days to a joyful family photo shoot, a week-long challenge with daily prompts and tips to get Emily excited and prepared for her session. A workbook, a free consultation, exclusive offer. So the one I like the best is Mom's stress-free family photo shoot checklist. So then without even having to go back to the prompts, I would just expand on that. I love number 2. Can you write this for me as a PDF? It's not going to give us a PDF, but so before the shoot, day of the shoot, and after the shoot, like I didn't even have to ask it to do that. It just provides a checklist for each. So I think this is pretty cool. I would love to do something like this. I might even take it further and say, and I like that headline, so I don't feel like I need to go back and change the headline personally for this one, but I would probably want a better intro. I would probably want a whole page on who I am and why I'm here. And you can literally take this and just keep asking, okay, let's write a better intro. Can you make it a little bit longer? And then a better outro or stronger call to action. You could ask it to change its language and sound more fun, or write this more for a mom that has kids under the age of 10. You know, you can go much more specific and it will just keep going. Everybody good on that?
Awesome. So Brianna, let me just ask you, if when you said you might expand the intro to have more about you, could you say to Gemini, can you create a more interesting intro based on my about page and put the URL in?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Right. Then it's going
Yeah,
to take
and you can also
information.
say, add more emotion to it. Hit more on mom's, concerns about stress, and it can prompt you with even, or give you a better paragraph to start out with, because we want to hit those emotional triggers and really like tie her to us as the person that can offer a solution to her problem. And her problem is stress.
Got it.
Stress when it comes to photo shoots.
So anytime you try and expand or look for more detail on any parts of this, do you stay inside the same thread, or when do you start a new thread inside Gemini?
When I'm changing topics. So I try not to go too convoluted. They can get so convoluted if I want to go back and make another PDF. What I'll do if I want to come back to this one. So let's say it's been 3 weeks and I want to make another one, and I saved this here, and this was my lead magnet conversation. I could go back in and say, I would just ask it from the beginning, do you remember the 10 lead magnet ideas you created for Emily Davis? And just to question it, make sure it remembers. It should remember it because it's in the conversation, and say, yes, here they are, and list them again. And then I'll say, cool, let's do number 3. Let's go on to the video series. And then go from there. So you can refer back. Sometimes if my conversations get too long, I will ask it if it remembers who my ideal client avatar is. And I'll just ask it that. And it will be like, yes, it's Emily Davis. And it'll summarize her really shortly. And then I know that we're still on the same page or whatever.
Got it.
But again, I do save those first 2 prompt responses just in either a Google Doc or on the notes on my phone, so that if I'm starting a totally new conversation, totally new topic, I want to do website copy or I want to do newsletter writing, and it takes away from this, I'll start a new one so it just doesn't get too lost in the mix.
But you're always starting them with those first two questions or the first two details about your client avatar.
Just because in my experience, I feel like that gets me the best response. I want to make sure that I want to make sure that my messaging is consistent across the board. And the best way to do that is to make sure it's always talking to the same person.
Got it.
All right. What's next? Okay. So compelling copy. This one, let's see, where is my, so copywriting, I kind of went, again, these kind of go hand in hand because we know the language, we know how we want to update things. If there's something on a website we want to change, or your bio, still understanding all of the language that resonates with her, the common power words or phrases that will motivate her to take action. All of that is still super, super relevant. So these kind of go hand in hand. But we're going to play with this prompt and just see what we get and kind of go from there. So I lost that chat again. Where did it go? There it is. Thank you. Okay.
So you pasted that new prompt into the chat window.
Yes.
Great.
So I need you to act as the world's best copywriter for photographers seeking to book a potential client. And we're going to insert the name of the avatar and one of her most emotional pain points. So we're going to say Emily Davis. So I picked stress as her pain point. Write sales copy that speaks directly to these pain points, emphasizing the emotional benefits of professional photography. Option here to end or add the type of copy that you need. So if you need it for Instagram, if you need it for your newsletter, if you need it for your website, I'm going to say benefits of professional photography. I'm going to say 3 to 5 sentence paragraphs for my website. Okay. Imagine this. Family photo days feels like a breeze and not a burden. We understand the unique pressure you face, juggling schedules, worrying about looking your best, and the overwhelm of it all. That's why our personalized approach prioritizes the ease and enjoyment for every member of your family. So I would then take some of this, reword it a little bit, or again, you can say, can you sound more lighthearted? Can you add a little bit more emotion to it? Or can you make this sound more, I think last time we played with the idea of making it sound more masculine or speak to dads. And again, it will reword it for you. So I did this a while ago and I just changed a couple of the main points on my website to hit home on a lot of the stuff and the mom guilt that comes with, booking your sessions or not booking your sessions and all that. So let's see the next one.
So if you ask Gemini to create that copy for a Facebook ad or an Instagram post, yes, it will change that slightly.
It should. So let's, this is the other cool thing that I love about Gemini. I could go back in here and just say, I need this copy for a Facebook ad.
That's pretty cool.
So now here's my Facebook ad.
That's pretty cool.
It also, it always gives additional tips, which I think is pretty cool. And it even did a target audience, parents with young kids age 1 to 10. Ooh, and the image should be a warm, candid photo of a family laughing and interacting naturally during photo. It tells you what kind of picture to choose. So that's pretty neat.
That's awesome.
You want me to go on to another prompt?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, we can write sales copy that paints a vivid picture of how Emily's life would change after a successful family photo shoot with professional photography or photographer. Paste this one here.
So this is another way to have people click on to download your lead magnet.
Yes. Okay, so
Did you copy this into the chat?
oh yes, I forgot to send it. Sorry. It's there. Doesn't want to let me type in the niche. Hang on. So this I could see being either copy that you use in an Instagram post or something like that, or this could be like audio over a video that you create. You know, you could be reading this. Imagine this, the chaos of coordinating outfits and coaxing smiles fades away. You know what I mean? You can change this up and use it as a promotional, voiceover for a promotional video.
Well, and if the language is too fluffy, so for me, I
Hmm.
would I would never say, as you gaze upon the stunning wall art
Right.
adorning your home. So I can get it to write in my voice or a more masculine voice, or do
Yeah.
I say use less fluffy language?
Yeah. We can say, this sounds a little too fluffy. Can you make it sound more human and less AI? Completely different tone.
Yeah, that sounds good. Totally different.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny too, because it really gets it when you say make it sound more human. We were talking earlier in our team meeting about how like we can spot direct copy because we do this so much that when we see someone's caption, there's a few like phrases and triggers that we're like, that's AI. Because it follows a format,
Yeah.
But you can very easily change it up, especially you can do this in Chat GPT as well, but especially Gemini is really responsive to asking for these slight changes.
But one of the things I've noticed is it seems to use a lot of colons and lists. Like it loves doing colons and then giving you lists underneath.
Hmm.
Is that an AI thing?
I don't think it's an AI thing. I think it's more of a trend that works really well on social media. And so I think because it knows that, because that's what people want. They want pointers and they want to know what three things or what are the, three things I did to change my income or, they want those numbers. And so I think just overall it performs well. Um, yeah.
Got it. This
Okay.
is cool.
So, let's see. I'm gonna go to this one. So there's a bunch on here, you guys, that you'll get. You're going to get all these prompts again. I'm not going to go through all of them because I have way more in here than we have time for. Um, but let's do this one and then we'll move on to newsletters.
So at this point here, Brianna, you're creating the language to have someone click on and sign up for the actual lead magnet, and then you would create the lead magnet afterwards using AI.
Yeah, so we kind of jumped ship here when we went over to copywriting. So we kind of left the lead magnet because we're kind of doing something sort of different, but we're still using the same language and things like that resonate. But we sort of just moved away from the lead magnet into copywriting that could be for whatever.
Right.
So we're
Okay.
just kind of now in a different category. If
Okay.
that
So
makes sense.
when you say copywriting, that can be for your website, could be for your lead magnet, could be for your social media, for your
Yes,
ads, anything.
exactly. Okay, so this one is my ideal clients are busy professionals looking for updated family portraits. Insert a blip about what you offer in terms of artwork and experience. So I'm gonna put, I offer full service family portrait sessions, specializing in custom wall collections, and heirloom albums. Right. And so this is kind of leading us into emails, because it's going to write a short email sequence, 3 emails, welcoming new subscribers, establishing my style. Like light, bright, and candid, and softly leading into a booking consultation. So this would be something that you could use when somebody first signs up for your newsletter, let's say like right off your website. So they didn't click a lead magnet, but they went to your website and they clicked to sign up for your newsletter. Then this would be triggered, ideally, to go out to them, a 3-part email series.
So sorry, Brianna, couldn't you also use this if someone does download your lead magnet and then you have an email sequence following that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So email 1, you guys can see. Is everybody still doing this along with us, or are you guys just watching? I'm just curious.
Yeah, just let us know in the chat, guys. Are you
Yeah.
following along and copying and pasting as we go? Are you seeing similar results?
Eric is cool.
Eric is for sure. Yeah, but he's getting some funny responses too. Okay,
Perfect.
Mike. Yep, great. Excellent. 50-50 from Robert. Okay. Elaine's watching, and Alex is getting similar results. That's great. Awesome.
That's kind of neat that results are similar, but they're almost never identical, because we all have slight variations in it, which is kind of encouraging too, right? We're not going to be producing the same content. Let's see.
Because we're all starting with a slightly different client avatar, I imagine.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Well, and then again, let's say you do decide to go with this exact email series, you're still going to want to change it up. You're still going to probably be like, ooh, let's expand on this and add 3 tips for whatever. That's what I would do. So 3 secrets. See, they like numbers.
So Brianna, Mike's asked a good question here, and I feel the same way. So he says he feels like he needs to ask, to use less fluffy language for every response. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
It sounds very, I guess, overly feminine for me, the way I speak and the way I would speak to my clients. So can I set that as a default, or do I have to have a sentence that says, use my tone or take the language from my website?
Yeah, I don't think there's a default, but I would imagine, and I haven't attempted this, but I would imagine that when you're building this and you've got your avatar, and what I would do is, when I'm going into the part about the language that the person wants to hear, I would update that prompt to say, please use my tone, or remember my tone, which is more masculine, more straightforward, less fluffy. And then I would hope that it would keep your tone in mind as you go, because if it can remember your avatar, it should be able to remember your tone, right? When you ask it to. So that would be my guess. And then let's check this out. So, okay, dreading family photos. So this was when it changed the tone, was this last prompt. So I'm wondering if it kept the tone here. To me, it seems like it's got a similar tone to the last prompt.
Yeah.
It didn't go overly fluffy.
No, it hasn't.
So that would be my suggestion, is add your tone kind of in the beginning when you're understanding the language. Let it know what your tone is, and just say, everything you produce for me, please use this tone.
Right. And then if Mike has written a bunch of emails in the past, could he upload those into Gemini and say, this is the tone I want to replicate for all future copy?
You could link your blog as well. If you have a blog, just link it in there and say, analyze this tone and please use this tone going forward.
Okay. And I think I can also ask Gemini to say, use sarcasm sparingly, but let me know where you've used it, things like that.
Yes. You can even say, so if there's somebody with an online, this is a little creepy, but somebody with a big online presence that you really like, and their tone that you like, and the way that they write, you can ask it to write in the style of so-and-so. You don't even have to ask it. You don't even have to load anything to it. You just say, write in the tone of, jazz. If I wanted to say, write like Jasmine Star, it's going to completely change, because it already knows who Jasmine Star is. It already knows her tone.
Right.
Because it's the internet.
Amazing.
Okay. So that kind of was a really good lead into getting onto the newsletter writing. So Oh, there's a question there.
Do you see that?
Yeah. How can you use all of it to write copy for my whole website? Like what kind of prompts do I need and how would I structure them? Hopefully not too big of a question. So I assume, Robert, that your website already has copy all over it. Yes?
Let's make that assumption. There is an
Okay.
existing website.
So what I would do, like, we'll just go to my website and I'll show you what I've done in the past. So I just copy and paste my about. I put it into Gemini and I ask it to rewrite it and make it, using that language. Literally just take pieces and segments of your, oh, he's just starting his website. Okay. So you're going to have an about section. As you're deciding what pages you're going to have, that's when this would come in. What pages you're going to have, what kind of text is going to be on there. So for example, my portrait art page has a lot of copy about the importance of portrait art. All of this I enhanced with Gemini. I enhanced our mission with Gemini. But as we know, the more copy that you have on your website, the more searchable you are in Google and all of those things. So anywhere that text is going to be, I would just go in there and ask it, again, teach it your tone, all of those things, and ask it to write copy for your page if you're doing in-person sales and portrait art that will emphasize the importance of portrait art. You can use one of those prompts that we have in there and just say it's for your website too. And then, take segments of that and use it where it fits. It's hard to know without knowing what segments you're going to have on your site. But we've got a couple different spots on the cover of ours. And then we've got a client experience too, which are the steps to working with us. And we've got about our services, which are all little blips. So there's a ton of copy on my page, what our goal is, and all of that has been enhanced. Most of it, not all of it. I'm not done yet. Most of it's been enhanced with Gemini. It's a little trickier when doing your website because again, you have to really, you really do have to change it up a lot so that, not a lot, but enough. So you can't just copy paste. It can give you something really beautiful or really perfect in your tone. And you still have to like adjust some of those words so that you don't, tick off Google, I guess.
You get penalized for the SEO.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think the real answer here is you have to break it down into blocks. You
Yep.
tell Gemini you're working on the home page. This is what you want
Yep.
to accomplish. Help me write the copy for that. Then you go onto the about page, the
Yes.
whatever other page.
Exactly.
So do it bit by bit. Otherwise, it's too overwhelming.
Right. Yeah. Page by page, knowing where you're going to put your text and what should be talked about in particular segments on the site.
Yeah, and I would start small. Just start with 3 or 4 pages and slowly build it out as you go and as you get feedback and as you get better.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So I think I've been skipping over all of these because we're just doing it.
And Eric has just said there for Robert's benefit too. This is the exact prompting that he used for each of his sections, each of the sections on his pages. So
oh, cool.
Perfect.
So for newsletters, if we want to jump into that a little bit, one really cool hack that I use that somebody else told me about, that's a very quick and easy hack. If you are stuck on what to write for your newsletter, go back to your Instagram posts or your Facebook posts where you've talked in depth about one particular thing. So let's say, for example, you followed all of the prompts from last time and you've changed up your Instagram feed and you've changed up your Instagram posts. You can go back in your feed, copy your caption, and go into Gemini and ask it to write a newsletter that expands on that Instagram caption, and it will draft an entire newsletter for you. That's my quick hack without a specific prompt. But to get into what they want to actually hear, that's when I have no ideas and I haven't like sat and had time to do this, but I need to get a newsletter out. I'm like, all right, let's go back to the tips about how to deal with kids on a, on a beach session or something like that. And I'll copy and paste it and do that. But we can also start with this prompt. You don't have to, I mean, obviously we're in this, you can take out based on my ideal client avatar if you're in the same chat, but for the sake of this, we're just leaving it in there. What are the most common photography content themes that she would find interesting, I would say, in my newsletter? Stress-free comes up again. So 10 ideas for newsletters right here, pretty easy. Let's go with number 1. So let's go with number 1, write the newsletter for me. So now I think this kind of went back a little bit fluffier than it did before. So let's rewrite this with a more masculine and less fluffy tone.
That's way better.
Yep. So 5 tips right there in the email. And let's say you don't like the subject line. You can just be like, can you give me 6 ideas for different subjects or 10 ideas for different subject lines for this email? But this is something I would open as a mom. Oh, how do we ditch the awkward family photos? And that's what we're doing with our newsletter, right? Like we're using our lead magnets to hopefully get people to invite us to their inbox. And when we're in their inbox, they're going to see our content a lot more closely than they're going to see it on Instagram. So you have to start with a compelling lead magnet to try to get people interested in signing up for what you have. And then you nurture them, as we know, with your newsletter. And eventually they hopefully become a paying client. And so making sure that what you're putting in your email is really valuable and interesting to them. This is where I go because I want to make sure that I don't have mass amounts of people unsubscribing once they've subscribed. So I want to make sure that I'm providing value and not just selling all the time. And sometimes I don't even have a call to action on my emails. I just want to put out something out there that doesn't make them feel like I'm selling to them all the time.
Brianna, one of the really cool things when I interviewed Helen Shriver, what she does is she sends out a monthly roundup of things to do with kids under 10, for example, in her local area. So can I ask Gemini to go and search, for, things that will be appealing to mums with kids under 10 over the next month? Like, will it do that?
Yeah. And I think specific to the area too. So let's do it. I want to write a newsletter for moms who have kids. What do you say, under the age of 10?
Yes.
I'm gonna say what area do you want me to say? Sydney?
Yeah, do central. I would do Central Coast. That's where I live, but Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia, or NSW, Australia. Yeah. It's WALES, but it probably won't make a difference. I'll be interested to see what it says here.
Let's say over the summer.
Yeah.
Summer months.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. So these are all things that are close to me. Glenworth Valley, Australian Reptile Park.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Wow. It's even got the names of the national parks for the bushwalking. That's really cool.
So,
Wow.
I mean, Gemini can plan your entire vacation and help you book flights. Like it's crazy because it's directly integrated with Google.
Wow. So this would be an amazing, monthly roundup for things to do for mums.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the idea. I'm going to do that in my area now. As the thing is, like, I've been doing this for so long, you would think that I don't run out of ideas, but like, I haven't thought of that. That's genius. Like, it hasn't given me that idea yet on its own. You gave me that idea, but now I'm going to get all the information from Gemini
Wow.
on how to do it.
I mean, again, I'm asking you things I don't know if you know the answers to, but could I say to Gemini, can you show me websites to find photos to accompany these? Or do I just use my own? I guess I would just use my own family photos.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, just as a photographer, I'm never going to put anything in my newsletter that's not my own.
Yeah, true.
But it could. Let's it because it does generate it generates AI images. So I don't know if it necessarily pulls from the web, but it does generate AI images. But let's see. Can you pull some images from the web to go with this email? Let's see what it does. I don't really know.
So it's actually going to build it for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, right.
Let's see what images it's going to give us. Look at that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, wow. Yeah, Mike's saying this is what I feel exactly the same way, Mike. I mean, it just continues to blow me away.
Hmm.
That's cool. All right. Sorry to distract you, Brianna.
That's okay.
Let's
That's
get
okay.
going.
I think we're pretty, I mean, okay. So, this one is kind of similar to before where we asked it a few questions and asked how to structure things and what kind of content to put the freebie in, etc. This does the same. So the next couple prompts are, what are some effective email structures for photography newsletters? And what's the ideal sending frequency for photography newsletters to avoid overwhelming my subscribers? That's a big one for me because I used to do once a month, and then somebody was like, oh, you should do once a week or twice a week. And I was like, that feels like a lot. I started doing once a week and my open rate dropped. So I was like, okay, people really liked once a month. Maybe I can, and I'm now playing with it, and I'm now doing every other week for my photography clients because once a week was too overwhelming for my audience.
Mm-hmm.
So let's ask it. Just that one out of nowhere. Monthly or bi-monthly, which is what I just said, which is kind of funny.
When you see bi-monthly, do you mean every second? Do you think it means every second month or
Oh,
twice a
yeah,
month?
I think it does actually mean every second month, doesn't it?
Yeah, wow.
I feel like that feels too spaced out.
Yeah,
But a busy if it's considering Emily, who's a busy professional mom, definitely weekly is going to probably irritate her,
I agree.
right? So you guys might get different responses based on your ideal client. Maybe yours isn't a busy mom. Maybe it's a pet owner or, a wedding client that's not as, dealing with as much stress with her 3 kids or whatever it
Well,
might be.
yeah. If I would say if I was a wedding, or if I'm a wedding photographer reaching out to an engaged bride or bride to be, then I think weekly is totally fine. Maybe even more often in the beginning when you're
Yeah,
trying to capture her as a client.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it kind of just depends on your avatar there. So the next several prompts, which I'm not going to go through because I think we're already at an hour. The next several prompts, I threw in some stuff for sales for you guys to help. There's some sales conversation stuff and ways to help understand potential client objections that you might face that can help on the sales side of getting ahead of those potential objections before you have the meeting. And there's even one that's develops a dialogue between I put Adam Earhart, who is a psychological sales strategist, and my ideal client. So that's in there for you guys to see a dialogue go back and forth all through Gemini, which is kind of neat, all around your business and what you're selling. And then I have a couple of content prompts. So you guys are going to get all of these and go crazy.
Awesome.
So I think that's about it. Do we want to get into any questions?
Yeah, so let's open it up to everyone here
I'm
on the
going to
call.
crank on my air conditioning really quick. I'm sorry.
Go for it. So if you're on the call here live, you can feel free to come off mute and ask your question to Brianna, or you can use the chat window if you prefer. Totally up to you. I'm just going to wait. So Brianna, Robert's just posted here. How would you ask Gemini questions to ask I'm not sure exactly what you mean there, Robert. How would you ask questions to ask the right question? Like, I don't think you can really be wrong. I always look at the answer I get. If it's not the kind of answer that I think I'm looking for, then I'll ask it to, take a deviation, and reword my question to get a different answer. I think that's what you're getting at, Robert, but feel free to post in there if I've got that wrong. If you want to stop sharing your screen.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Then we can open this up. So guys,
Perfect.
feel free. We're going to open this up to Q&A. I will say, while you're thinking of your questions, if you do have any, I would encourage you to join the Facebook group that Brianna's set up. I'll link to that on the course page, and also add it in the emails as well. So if you do have follow-up questions once you either watch this recording or you get off and start experimenting, you can post those questions to Brianna inside that group, so we can all learn and develop from there. Same as if you come up with an idea like I just shared from Helen Shriver, if you find something that works really well and you're happy to share it with others, then let's do that inside that group as well. I think that those tips on what to do with your kids is obviously a great one. There's probably 1,000 other ideas that are brilliant like that one. So feel free to share those in the group. So yeah, any questions in regards to what we covered today, or even in last week, or just general AI questions?
Yeah, I'll throw one out there. I just want to confirm, like, strategy for, pardon me, like setting up Gemini to give you good answers. So it seems like you'd spend a lot of time defining, obviously the avatar, and then like what you're looking for kind of in broad strokes before you really narrow down and say, okay, cool. Now that I've developed this, I'll say all the fringes of the persona, like now dig in and actually develop like what your end goal is.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah. And so for my business, we have a couple different avatars. So I will save each of them so that I don't have to go through all of this all over again. But I find it most effective when you can get right down to those really fine details about the person, because it's going to give you better content. Over time, as you discover, like, for example, I never really thought about talking about the stress of a potential family session. I did when I got the question often about mini sessions, and I'm like, no, they're too stressful. Nobody has fun. This is why I don't do it anymore. I used to think that it was quick and easy. It's not. It's so much more difficult. But I never made content around it. And now that I understand that that's such a pain point for my ideal client, like when I'm going to create something, so let's say I know my avatar inside and out now. If I'm going to go and create something, I don't need to necessarily start all over. As you get more and more well-versed with who your ideal client avatar is, you know what you want to hear from it. You go and be like, I need a lead magnet all around how to prevent stress at sessions. Give me 10 ideas. And does that make sense? Like, you can, as you know it better, this is really to help you discover it and then go deeper. But once you know it, once you've done it enough times that you understand all of your clients' pain points, you don't need to ask all these questions again. You can just go in there with whatever prompt, with any of these, and modify them, but jump right to the creation and just make it longer and put in focusing on stress, outfit selection, how to deal with pets during a family session, things like that. Once you already know the things that trigger your client. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. I
Okay.
guess the other question that I would have is, say because I'm sure you've been asking, I'll call it sometimes similar questions for, a couple of months, like, cool, give me content ideas, give me content ideas. Have you ever gotten to a point where you're like, I've seen these before, try again? Or is that just as simple as, hey, give me some more ideas?
That it's as simple as give me more ideas. I haven't really seen it repeat a lot of things. I've seen it repeat a couple, but I usually go so hard on one topic. Like, I'll spend a day or 2 days creating a lead magnet based on one topic that I really loved, and then I run with that for a while. And if I come back and it's given me something similar, yeah, I'll just say, or if I don't like any of them, give me 10 more ideas. Give me 5 more ideas. Okay, I like this one, but can you tweak it? Or I like this one, but I don't like the headline. Give me 10 ideas for different headlines that are more compelling, more emotional, and more enticing, or something like that.
Cool.
So, Mike, are you starting with an avatar in mind? Is that what you mean? Or so have you already built your avatar, or are you talking more about the language that AI is using to replicate you and your voice?
I'm just talking like in terms of like social media content. Like I already have the avatar. I've already said, hey, give me a list of ideas. You know, and I'm saying, okay, I'm particularly leaning towards some that are less video focused or something like that. And like in my experience, it's like, okay, it's kind of saying some of the same things. And I'm just wondering if there's a way to shortcut, like, okay, I've seen this like 3 permutations of the same like idea. Just keep on giving me something new. So if it's just as simple as, nope, try again.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go, is just ask it to try again. And then again, as you can get more detailed with your ask, it will give you different prompts or more, or I'm sorry, different responses. So if your ask is really basic and it's like, I need 10 ideas for content for Instagram, my top or my favorite content types are reels and carousels. Create a table that, you know, you can, if you keep it really basic like that, it might repeat more often than if you make it more complicated, more in depth. Like, I like reels and carousels. I want to focus my content this month on these 3 topics. If you get more specific with your ask, it's going to then give you more specific and different responses, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because my brain's going, you know, with this on the newsletters, it's like, okay, how do I make sure, you know, in, you know, 6 months, I don't end up with the same topic? It's like, that's not going to fly.
Well, the other thing is you can repurpose your content. So a really big tip that I got from a couple of really big people out there on social media is go back and look at your reels and look at your posts that performed really well and repurpose the content. Use it again. It's okay to do that because it resonated the first time. It can be reworded, but be the same content. So if like I said earlier, if I had a post that was like tips on dealing with kids at the beach, and that performed really well, then I could take that caption, put it in Gemini, ask it to then write a newsletter around it. So I'm repurposing the same content in a different format. I can also then make that reel again and put different tips on it. Instead of tips on how to deal with them at the beach, tips on what things to bring for kids to keep them happy at the beach or things like that. So I would actually say it's totally okay to repurpose any content that performs well, because you can tweak it slightly, because every single person on your newsletter is not going to open every single one. And then you have new people that haven't seen that content yet, et cetera, et cetera. And same with on Instagram.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
I would 100% argue that you can even reuse the same posts, you know, 6 or 12 months later.
Oh, yeah.
There's software out there, one called Meet Edgar, where, you know, I used to put in my posts, you know, for this January, they would appear next January or next March or February, because I don't need to, there's going to be different people seeing it in a year's time. So totally fine to do that.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool. Any other questions, guys? Again, while you're thinking about that, I'll make sure this recording is up and available to you, and with all the prompts and everything else we've covered, links to the group, so you'll be able to dive into this. And look, I'd love to hear feedback on how you go with this. I know I heard some great comments from Eric, who's redone his website, and also from other people that were on the first training with Brianna. So, yeah, before we wrap it up, any other last questions before we finish off today? We're pretty good, Brianna. Brianna, that was amazing. So good. I know that you'll be inside the group to answer questions as well as we go. I'll have details about the date for the next session as well, which is later in the year. And we'll keep the conversation going inside the group. But Brianna, massive thanks for coming on and sharing everything that you have today. And thank you guys if you're here on the live call. Looking forward to seeing you in the group as well. Thanks, Brianna.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Let's leave it there, and I'll see you in the group.